Jason Gilbo here with Rob Mazika, taking a look at some GPP bats for tonight's slate. Interesting pitching slate. I mean, you have Clayton Kershaw up there, but we were kind of talking. I mean, there's other ways to pay down at and kind of gets you some salary for some bats too.
Yeah, it's a happy Kershaw day. It's one of my favorite days of the week. But we don't even actually need to use him today. There's other pitchers to use, but this is a hitters article. So we'll talk about some high-priced guys if you want to go cheap at pitching and some lower-priced guys if you want Kershaw.
Yep. Catcher, you and I were both on Brian McCann. Good GPP bat. I mean, against Andrew Kashner, who, yes, he's had a couple of decent starts to start the year, but this is by no means a good right-hander in that ballpark. McCann got some good power there as well.
He does. Kashner really struggled against lefties last year too with a 380 WOBA. McCann, he's probably one of the top catching options on the night tonight.
Yeah, I like McCann quite a bit. Salvador Perez is another guy that I'm looking at here against Covey. Covey definitely not a right-hander that you should shy away from. Perez has some good power. I mean, 170 ISO against righties going back to last year. Hitting in the middle of that order as well, so some good chances for RBIs.
There is Covey. He's not MLB ready yet. Other guy, catchers Miguel Montero. We have that game in Wrigley Field tonight with 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to center field with up to 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Velasquez has struggled this year, giving up the long ball, and Montero, he's in a spot where he can take him deep.
Moving to first base, definitely a pay-up position. I think it always has been with how the pricing has gone. There hasn't really been a ton of cheap guys. Staying in that Cubs game, I mean, Rizzo, you look at Velasquez, I mean, really struggled against lefties. Home run potential there for Rizzo. As we said, I mean, wind blowing out. I think he's going to come in, probably going to come in as one of the higher-owned guys, but definitely a guy with a ton of upside still.
He will. It's interesting how people are going to construct lineups with Kershaw and Rizzo being almost 5K on FanDuel, which is really high for a player, but it's a great spot with the wind there and Velasquez's struggles, just like we touched on. A guy I'm looking towards is Edward Encarnacion. Daniel Norris, he gave up over a 340 WOBA with the righties last year, and E5, he's just in a spot where he could just smash any lefty that's out there.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I mean, and I think because I think still people are going to gravitate towards Santana too if they are going towards a Cleveland first baseman.
Yeah, they will. Most people, when they stack Cleveland, they leave off E5 and they put Santana, but I like Encarnacion as a lower-owned option in the same spot.
Yep, I do too. As far as a cheap first baseman goes, I mean, I didn't have much. I mean, I think if I am making a pivot away from Rizzo or Encarnacion, I'm still paying up and I'm still looking at Freeman.
I am too. I'm really not looking to go cheap either at first base. It's just a big power position. I like Freeman as well. Selman, he has struggled this year against everyone really. And Freeman, he's been on a hot start since the second week of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely on fire. And you look at SunTrust, I mean, it looks like it's playing right into Freeman's style.
It is over 20 FanDuel points in the last 4 games as well.
Second base, not a position I'm fairly excited about the top options with. Cesar Hernandez on DraftKings only, I like quite a bit, still cheap. Showing off a little bit of upside as well, but he's always a consistent guy. He's never going to kill your lineup either.
He is, and he's got that matchup in Wrigley Field with the wind and everything, and that game's really just going to be the marquee game of the night. Where I'm looking at second base, I'm really not in love with anyone at the position, so I'm looking to punt. And the guy who I'm looking towards to punt with is Whit Merrifield. He's going to hit leadoff for the Royals tonight against Covey. I was using him a lot last year. He doesn't really have a lot of power upside, but he could get a couple extra base hits in this spot.
Yeah, I like Merrifield. Guy I use as well, on the cheaper side. As far as the mid-range goes, I think FanDuel's a little bit more intriguing because like Ben Zobrist is there, who I don't mind. Josh Harrison, who's an intriguing option. I'm not sure what to make of Amir Garrett in this start. I mean, obviously he started last time out, but Harrison leading off is an intriguing guy, and he's always low-owned.
He is, and that ballpark definitely helps as well.
Third base, and Jose Ramirez, I know, is a guy we talked about before the show, turning over, hitting from the right side. 370 WOBA against lefties going back to last year.
Yeah, Jose Ramirez, he's another one of my top guys tonight. Indians, they're one of my favorite stacks of the night, and pretty much all these righties, but Jose Ramirez specifically, they're all in great spots.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I like Indians. I think they're going to come in as one of the higher scoring teams of the night. FanDuel, I still like Manny Machado. 3-3. I mean, it's hard to get away from him. If you played him over that Yankees series at that price, he paid it off handsomely. Purcell's just not a guy that is missing a ton of bats right now, and in that ballpark, I mean, I like Machado here.
I like him too. Now that you're talking about him, and also he's going to be extra motivated too, coming off the last time where they threw at his head.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of hoping for a little bad blood. We need to get something boiling over here.
It definitely could be tonight. A guy I'm looking towards though at third base and FanDuel specifically, and even DraftKings kinda, is Jose Reyes. Like I said, if you're gonna be paying up for Kershaw, you need some value. And Jose Reyes is 2,700 on FanDuel, and he's had double-digit fantasy points in each of his last 5 games. But I mean, Tehran is a daunting matchup, but at the same time, he did give up a 325 WOBA to lefties last season.
I think the Mets lefties are really intriguing. I mean, Terrence, he hasn't quite looked right over his last few starts, and velocity looks pretty much down across the board. And I think something might be up with him.
It could be. This ballpark's also starting to play to lefties too. But Jose Reyes is a good cheap option if you want to go there.
Yep. Heading over to shortstop. I mean, continuing the trend with Lindor there.
Yeah, Lindor. The Tigers, Daniel Norris, he struggles against righties, 341 WOBA. Lindor, he does hit better from the left side of the plate, but he's just in this high-powered lineup, and he's going to be right in the middle of everything.
Yep. Yeah, I like Lindor. I mean, I think he's more of a guy I might look towards if I'm stacking the Indians. I don't know if I would quite go the one-off just because he is high price, but I do like Lindor.
Yeah, a guy I like is Corey Seager, not too far off in price, especially on FanDuel. He's only 3K. He's going against Johnny Cueto, which is always scary, but he is 8 for 20 against him in his career for a good BVP matchup. And plus, he's one of the best hitting shortstops in the entire league.
Yeah, I'm always a big fan of Seager when you can get the price difference just because of the matchup. I mean, I think you do have to go and look at him. Carlos Correa, been unlucky this year, hitting the ball hard. I think things are going to start to come around for him soon, and I do think that's a potential here against Cashner. 3,500 on FanDuel, not a bad price tag for him. Low floor, but definitely a high ceiling.
Yeah, definitely low floor, high ceiling play. Great matchup, great ballpark. It's just all around good spot for this Astros team.
Yep. And I think if you're looking cheap, I mean, Jordy Mercer is a guy I think you can still plug and play if you really need the salary relief. I mean, if they're going to continue to price him down, decent numbers against lefties. I know Amir Garrett's been good more times than not, but in that ballpark, it gives him a bump as well.
Yeah, great ballpark. Jordy Mercer, really good against lefties, terrible against righties, but it's a good spot for him.
Yep, should be hitting second, third tonight. Moving over to outfield, Matt Kemp was a guy you were looking at as far as the top option goes.
Yeah, Matt Kemp, like I mentioned with Selman struggles, Selman actually has a slight reverse split in his career so far, giving up over a 330 WOBA to righties in his 2 years he's been in the league. Matt Kemp coming off the big weekend. He had the 3 home run game Saturday night. It's just a good spot for him. He's been hitting the ball hard, and Selman, he's been hit or miss lately. Like I said, he could blow up, and Kemp could just hit another 2 home runs or something.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's going to draw fairly low ownership as well. I mean, he always seems to does that.
Yeah, especially with these games in Houston, Wrigley, and the Indians. I think Kemp's going to go very overlooked tonight.
I like McCutchen there. Friendly ballpark against the lefty. I mean, McCutchen's looked a little bit like his old self against Southpaws. Going back to last year, I mean, over a 180 ISO still. I don't think Garrett's going to have a bad start, but I don't think he's going to go completely unscathed like he did the first time against the Pirates. So I like McCutchen. I think because of his higher price, people are going to draw away from him and kind of go elsewhere.
I agree, and the ballpark helps as well. And then a guy I like in the same game for the mid-range option is Billy Hamilton. If he can get on base against Garrett Cole, he's going to be stealing second and third every time. Garrett Cole, in his career, he's pitched 99 innings, and he's had 99 starts, and he's given up 77 stolen bases in those starts. He's not very good at holding runners on, so if Billy can get on base, the stolen base upside is there.
Yep, and that's one of the big reasons why Cole always struggles against the Reds, because they do get on, they do run against him.
Yeah, there's a lot of stolen base upside with this team.
Yep. As far as mid-range for me, Jason Hayward starting to hit the ball really well this season, completely opposite from what he did last year. And going with that lefty trend against Velasquez where he struggles with the wind blowing out. Given that he's hitting sixth in the lamp, I mean, it's still a good spot for him to drive in runs.
It is, and the wind helps for sure. In the value tier, I'm looking towards these platoon guys, specifically Brandon Guyer for both sites. He's 2,300 on FanDuel, and I think he's around 2,800 on DraftKings. He's down below 3K. But he's in that matchup against Daniel Norris with the Indians like we've been talking about. They're probably going to be one of the higher owned stacks of the night. But when you can get a guy that cheap in a matchup like this, he might get pinch hit for later in the game, but he could produce enough in GPPs in those 2 at-bats.
Yep, I'm with you. I mean, Guy lefty masher, I don't mind him. Same game for me as far as a cheap guy, Tyler Collins. He's been hitting second, 3.36 WOBA. Righty's going back to last year, 181 ISO. Um, Collins, I don't mind for the price tag in the lineup spot. And Bauer, not that he's awful against lefties. I mean, he's more of a reverse splits guy, but Bauer just has that blow up potential.
He does. Bauer, he could either strike out 10 guys or he can give up 10 runs. But Tyler Collins, he's been a guy I've been using all season really as a value. He had some big games before. He had over a 40 fantasy point game on FanDuel earlier in the year. It's just a great spot for him. And then one last guy I want to touch on, FanDuel specifically, is Alex Gordon. He's priced way too high in DraftKings, but he has that matchup against Dylan Covey that we've been talking about. And he's just really cheap in the middle of that lineup.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Alex Gordon's been popping up in the optimizer so far here early in the day. So, I mean, incredible value for a team that, hasn't been on our radar for most of this year. But, with Covey, I mean, this is a matchup to exploit.
Yeah, and then there's one last guy I want to touch on, very deep GPP play. Cody Bellinger against Johnny Cueto. I don't know. I have a gut feeling that he's going to do something big today.
Oh, dude, Bellinger's swing is so sexy.
He's a sexy player.
Monster power, dude. It's so nice to watch.
Yeah, he's gonna be a good player up and coming, and I think it's gonna big matchup against Cueto. I think he's gonna get up for it.
Yeah, I like that call there. I mean, Dodgers lefties are certainly in play.
Yep.
So let's wrap things up here. You can check out davefantasycafe.com for all our great tools and content.
Yeah, good luck, everyone.